strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you could possibly imagine.
Welcome everybody, this is Bulldog, and that's right, I've got the spreadsheets back out. We are diving back into mods. I've beaten to death the defense versus health mods. Now we're going to take a look at the flip side on offense. Your offense versus crit damage versus crit chance mods. So first off, for those of you who haven't seen this spreadsheet before, the link is in the description. You can go and download it. You cannot edit the original copy. I get a lot of requests to edit this. What you need to do is actually download your own copy and like export it into Excel or something like that wherever you want it. Once you download your own copy, then you can change it however you want. And you can go in and plug in your own numbers for your own characters to find out how to best mod your attackers. So let's look at what we've got. The numbers here in red, or the labels in red, are the ones that are really the most important. These are the ones that you need to find what your crit chance and what your crit damage is for the character you're looking to mod. Now, crit damage is usually going to be 150. There are some characters who gain crit damage with mastery, so as you increase their relics, they'll add some crit damage. But crit chance is going to be the main one that's changing. A lot of you will be surprised that offense is in blue. Base offense doesn't make a huge difference. When we add some secondary offense, or in particular the flat secondary offense, that can make some minor differences, but for the most part, the starting offense of the character doesn't really matter when it comes to how you should mod them. So what we've got here is, so there's 5 different mod sets that I'm looking at. If we scroll down just a little bit, and I've got them color coded this time. So red is going to be the least valuable set, up to green that's going to be the most valuable set, and they're coded based on particularly within the range there. So you might see some, like here we've got some that are about the same color. That's because there's not a huge difference between them. So the character that I have in right now is Chewie. These are the numbers for a Relic 7 Chewbacca, and what we're looking at is, so we've got an offense primary or a critical damage primary on the triangle for both a crit damage set and an offense set. Those are the 4 main ones I'm looking at. And then down here, I've also got 3 times critical chance, 3 times critical chance set. And then if you're adding that much critical chance, you're going to want a critical damage primary. So that's the only one that I've looked at there. The other combinations you won't really want too much. Now, maybe though, these are all with a crit chance set. So the first 4 that I talked about, those are going to take up 4 mod spots. I've added a crit chance set as the final mod set. But let's say you wanted to put potency there instead of crit chance. It's actually very easy to change. You just come up here and you're going to, so this is Chewie. His base crit chance is 70, but we're just going to subtract 8 from it. And that would be the case if you were not using a crit chance set there. So we're gonna put this back. We're gonna pretend that we are, because we're wanting to get max amount of damage here. And then there's three columns of outcomes here. The first one is, so 2 times offensive primary. That's before we factor in the triangle. So you've got the square primary and you've got the cross primary. You're going to be your most likely the most likely sets if you've got 2 offense primaries. I've also the second column here is if you're just using 1 offensive primary. So if you wanted to use, let's say, a protection, a health, potency cross, then you could look at this column. Or if you want to go the other way and add an extra offensive primary, if you want to make the arrow an offensive primary, you're going to look at the final column here. And in general, it's not going to make a huge difference between sets. There can be some minor difference. It won't matter too much, but you can see the differences as we go along here. And so the kind of the first thing that everybody wants to look at. So if we're looking at a situation where we don't have a lot of modifiers, we don't have any extra crit damage, we don't have any crit avoidance or anything like that, what is the break-even chance for when you want to use the offense set versus the crit damage set? And you can play around with that here. You'll see that it's about 70 actually. And since we've got the extra 8 from Chewie there, we've got, so you'll see right here. So these 2 right here are about even when we're at about 70% crit chance. You can see the crit chance after modding down here on the side. So since we were up at 70 for Chewie, that's going to make crit damage mods better than offense mods as far as sets go, but it's not a huge difference. So look how small this difference. So to get the actual damage that you're doing to a character, you would also want to factor in so each ability has an attack modifier. You can find that on swgoh.gg if you go to that character. So you would have to take this number, modify it by the attack number, and then adjust for the defense if defense is coming into play. If the attack doesn't ignore defense. And so these numbers could get modified up or down depending on what we're factoring, but there's not a huge difference between offense and crit damage. And you always want to keep in mind that sometimes you won't be able to critically hit. This crit chance is assuming that there is no way for the opponent to prevent that. But, okay, what if you're going up against Supreme Leader Kylo Ren and with the advantage they can't be crit? Rey puts out crit avoidance. Padme teams can't be critically hit when they have that protection up. There is a lot of crit avoidance out there. So even though, like in this case, even though it says, okay, crit damage set with crit damage primary is probably your best option, it's so close that I would actually lean toward going with offense set with a critical damage primary. And if there's one thing you take away from this, I know that there's a lot of math here and a lot of you aren't going to want to sit through all of this. Offense set with critical damage primary is going to be my recommended way to go. If you just want to treat all characters the same and say, okay, I want to farm for everybody at once. I want to build up my mods that'll fit the most number of characters. Go with an offense set with a critical damage primary. That's going to give you the best numbers. But I do want to just adjust these numbers here real quick so you can see different situations. Let's forget about it being Chewie, for example. Let's see what happens as we raise or lower crit chance, or as we change these modifiers. And let's add some secondary offense and secondary offense from mods. Let's just say 3% offense from secondaries, and we'll add a flat 100. And you can see that it doesn't change things too much. The secondary numbers don't play a huge role. They will change things slightly, but not enough. Usually not enough that you're actually going to want to change your entire modding set around that. But let's look at some bigger things. Or actually, first, let's look at one thing that's not really much of a factor. A lot of people think when you have a high offense character and you get a boost from a lead or a boost from a unique, that because you boost that offense, you want to go with offense mods. The offense boost from uniques and leads actually has basically no impact because you're going to multiply everything evenly across the board. So if I have, what is CL? Is CL Slate like 15% offense if we were looking at Chewie? Doesn't really change the recommended set much. What if we made it 150%? Still, you can see the color scheme isn't really changing. What if it was 30,000% offense edition? It doesn't change things. The critical damage set is still slightly better because you're multiplying everything evenly across the board. You don't have to worry about base offense. You don't have to worry about offense modifiers. The only one that actually changes anything is the secondary offense. And it's kind of counterintuitive in that the more offense you add, the more secondary offense you add, or the more offense you add from mods in general, the better crit damage mods are. So like if we added 2,000, look how much it favors crit damage. So it doesn't, you're not going to see that much. You're not going to see huge offensive numbers from secondary mods, but that's kind of just showing you the role that those play in there. So let's adjust this crit chance up so you can see how things can really swing. So what if we had some sort of way to get critical chance up to 100%? Because there are a lot of characters that have a critical chance of 100%, or you've got like the first order teams that have advantage all the time. What if we assume that you are always getting a critical hit? How does that change things? And obviously that's going to favor crit damage. The more often you're landing crits, the more valuable that critical damage is. And as you can see at the bottom, so this crit chance is set to never go over 100% because obviously you can't get over 100%. The crit chance mods aren't really all that good whenever you're already having 100% crit chance. So you can see that is working there. But the difference here just isn't all that extreme, and that's why I like to recommend the offense set over the crit damage set, because okay, even if you had advantage, even if you have 100% crit chance, if you're running up against critical avoidance, you're not going to be landing any crits, and that's going to take away quite a bit there, but you still get that offense boost. So I just don't think worth it. So you're adding the 600 damage here compared to the 18,000 that we're doing. That's such a minor increase that I like to be prepared and do extra damage when we're not landing crits. But let's go the other way for a second. Let's say you're facing a Traya squad that has they have that extra crit avoidance, or you're going up against characters that have a crit avoidance mod or something like that. You're going up against a Grievous team that has a lot of crit avoidance, and you have a low critical chance. Look how this can actually change things. So all of a sudden, the mods that were the worst, these crit chance mods that were the worst, suddenly can jump up and become one of the best, depending on which column that you're looking at here. Let's lower it anymore. Let's lower it to 10%, and there you go. You'll see these crit chance are working much better, and they work better the more you raise the offense. You can see those colors changing there as well. So a crit chance set can be beneficial over offense or crit damage, but only when you have a very low crit chance, but you still can land those critical hits. So when you get to the point where you have crit immunity, then obviously the crit chance mods aren't going to be very, very good. Same case as if you're always landing critical hits. But if you have a low crit chance but can raise it up, those crit chance mods can be. But that's about the only time you're really going to want to actually invest in those crit chance. But let's look at another factor here. So let's reset this back to 70. And things can drastically change when you start changing critical damage. That's one of the big factors. And again, much like I said, when you're adding offense, it actually helps critical damage mods. When you're adding critical damage, it's going to be a boost towards your offense mods. That's because when you add critical damage, is actually additive, so it's not multiplying that effect. So let's take a look at Sith Trooper. So Sith Trooper has a base crit chance of 51%. And okay, so if we're looking at these mods, you can see, so we're at offense. Offense and crit damage are fairly equal. Offense is going to be better, but he gets advantage a lot of the time, right? So let's put that at 100%. And of course, you'll see the crit damage mods go up. But then remember, he gets a 50% damage boost when he has advantage. So let's put that 50 in there. And you're going to see that kind of swings it even. But now let's go a step farther. Okay, he's under a Supreme Leader Kylo Ren lead, and that gives us another plus 50% crit damage, plus you can get crit damage up. So let's add another 100 in there. And now offense is the way to go. A lot of people mod Sith Trooper with critical damage sets because they think he's landing lots of crits. He should have a critical damage set. If you're under Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, the crits are going to be doing more damage if you have an offense set. And then, okay, if you're under another First Order lead or some other lead that doesn't impact critical damage, you saw they were about even, so it's worth modding for offense anyways, in case you're facing a team where you can't land that critical hit, or you've had that advantage removed somehow. So Sith Trooper should absolutely be modded with an offense set and a critical damage primary because of how that critical damage boosts things. And let me just show you an extreme here so you can see the impact of critical damage. Let's just slowly increase this, kind of like we did with the offense. Let's add 1,000 crit damage. You can see how that's changed things so much that the offense primary is now actually becoming the best set. And you'll see it swings more towards these offense mods. So the offense set and the offense primary, the more critical damage that you add. Now, nobody can add that much critical damage unless, well, I think we've seen in some of these galactic challenges where you can stack that critical damage. So maybe I shouldn't say that. But in general, you can't add that much critical damage. But I just want to show you guys how the more critical damage you have, the better the offense sets and even the offense primary becomes. And it's going to be the reverse factor as well. If you're facing If you have like critical damage down, I don't even know of anybody that inflicts that, but or a lead that decreases critical damage or some sort of unique. If there's some way in there for you to decrease critical damage, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure it's out there someplace. That's going to favor adding crit damage mods over offense. So that's kind of that. It all gets very complicated. So the easiest way, if you're wanting to do this, and it's kind of hard to follow along, just plug these numbers in for yourself. Download the spreadsheet, go plug in your numbers, look for the green and mod that way. But again, the big takeaway is this row right here is really what you want to focus on. If you are just trying to mod everybody the same way, keep it simple, you're looking to farm the best mods for your attacker that you can apply to anybody, use your offense set with a critical damage primary, and that's going to be one of the best ways to go. So again, let's to kind of review the trends here. The more offense you add from mods, the better crit damage mods become. The more offense you add, or the more critical damage you add from uniques or leads or anything like that, the better offense mods are going to become. So that's kind of the trend to look at. The break-even chance on a kind of like a normal character or a normal situation without a lot of modifiers is going to be around 70% crit chance here. So you can see those are pretty close. That's because I put in the secondaries. So if we ignore the secondaries, about 70% crit chance is kind of your break-even point. And the less crit chance you have, the more beneficial offense mods are. The more crit chance you have, the more beneficial critical damage mods are. So I know a lot of that stuff that we kind of already knew, but putting the numbers in and seeing exactly how they impact things can really help some people, and some of it can get very complicated, and it's hard to know what are the exact best mods to use on different things. But in reality, the differences are fairly small. So again, as I said, the big takeaway, if you're wanting to mod characters, or you're wanting to farm mods that will apply to the most characters, the most situations, offense mods, critical damage primary, that's going to get you where you want to go. So hopefully that's something that you guys can use. And again, give me feedback. And by the way, if you're doing a 5e mods, it's pretty much all the same. You can enter adjustments in here to change things. So you can subtract some offense, or you can subtract your base crit damage. You can subtract some crit damage in there if you want to look at different numbers or different types of things. I'm not going to put out 5e mod. I want to put out a 5e defense mod because that can be more complicated. Offense 5e is going to be, it's not going to be a huge adjustment, so you can use the 6e mod set and it should be fine. So hopefully you guys can learn a lot from this, can apply this to maybe add some extra damage to some of your attackers. And between the defense and the offense mods, if you guys learn to mod correctly, it gives you a huge advantage in the game across the board. Mods are so big in this game that they can, if you know how to mod properly, you can overcome a lot of other deficits, and it can really make a difference in your game. So if you have any questions, leave them here in the comments. Add me on Discord, talk to me on Discord. However you can contact me on Twitter, that's fine as well. And I try my best to help everybody out. I know I can't always get to everybody, but I try. It's getting harder as more people are asking me questions, but I try my best. But anyways, I will talk to you guys later. Hopefully this was useful. I'll see you around.